Hey guys, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the if you liked this movie, you will also like this book tag recommendation type video. I will leave a link in the description for the original video that I saw of this. I thought it was a really cool idea because it's kind of like a, if you like this book, then you'd also like this book recommendation video, except it's including movies, which is also one of my favorite things in the world, and I do sometimes see similarities and storylines between movies and books, and so I thought it would be a great way to recommend you guys some books that are similar to movies that I love and movies that are similar to books that I love, so why not? I just thought it'd be great. Let's just jump right into this.
Drop top, pull up to the party where my hoes at.
The first one is going to be, if you liked the movie Donnie Darko, then I think you would like the book We Are the Ants. A young boy thinks that the world is coming to an end in both of this movie and in the book. This book is LGBT. It follows a young boy named Henry who believes he's being abducted by aliens every night, thinks that the world is coming to an end and the aliens are giving him the ability to stop it, but he doesn't know if the world is worth saving anymore because his boyfriend Jesse recently killed himself. And then in Donnie Darko, it follows a similar story. Like, he thinks that the world is gonna end in like 28 days and he sees this giant 6-foot tall bunny rabbit, and it's just one of my favorite movies ever, and they're both like sci-fi but also contemporary coming of age stories, and they're just both extremely powerful, and I love both this movie and this book so much. I consider this to be my favorite book of all time, so if you haven't read it, like, you need to read it, and Donnie Darko is just such a classic. Next up is, if you liked the movie Mr. Nobody, then I think you would also like the book Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Both this movie and this book follow characters who make choices in their life, and we get to see both choices play out in alternate universes. And so in Mr. Nobody, when he's a kid, his parents get separated, and so he has to choose whether he wants to go with his mom or his dad. And so then we get to see his life play out in both ways, like one life where he went to stay with his mom and one life where he lived with his dad. And then in this book, it follows a similar storyline where she either has to decide to stay the night with her first love or go home alone, and her life lives out in very different ways depending on which choice she made that night. So I think both of these, this movie and this book, are both really similar in that way, and they are both such beautiful, incredible stories, and I love the idea of like a multiverse and how every decision has an impact on your life and could like change everything, so they're both freaking awesome. Next up is, if you liked the movie Blue Valentine, then I think you would also like After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Both of these stories involve a couple that is married, that is going through some kind of hardship. They are both very, very, very depressing, like love stories, like tragic, sad love stories that just kind of make you feel like super sad while you're watching or reading them. But Blue Valentine follows this couple, Dean and Cindy, and they've met, and it's been a couple years now, and they're married, and they're just going through this rut. And it's kind of similar to this book in the sense that Ryan and Lauren in this book have been married for I think like 8 or 9 years now, and they're just going through this rut where they don't think that they're in love with each other anymore, and it's very similar to Blue Valentine in that way. And they're very both powerful emotional love stories, and I highly recommend them both. Next up is, if you liked the movie La La Land, then I think you would also like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, mostly because of like the Hollywood, the old Hollywood aspect. La La Land is a musical that follows like characters that are obsessed with Hollywood, and it definitely pays a tribute to like the old classic Hollywood stuff. And then this book actually takes place in 1950s Hollywood, and I just love the like behind the scenes of like the glamour and the behind the scenes of Hollywood. I just think that if you enjoyed La La Land, then you would probably also enjoy The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And this one definitely has a bit more like to it than you would expect it to. Next up is, if you liked the movie Comet from 2014, then I think you would also like Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. This movie and this book are both really cute love stories that take place over a long period of time. The movie Comet, it takes place over a period of like 6 years, and so the couple meets one night and you get to see their life at 6 different points in their relationship. And then this book is also like a love story where they meet when they're younger, and then there's a time jump of about 15 years, and then you get to see them when they're a bit older and they reconnect. And I just think both of these are really, really fantastic love stories. Comet is a movie I just became obsessed with fairly recently, and I just love everything about it. It's so good, and it's directed by the creator of Mr. Robot, and has Emmy Rossum, and she's amazing, and I just think Comet is such a freaking fantastic fantastic movie, and I think these two are definitely similar, so definitely check those out. Next up is if you liked the movie The Social Network, then I think you would also like Vicious by V.E. Schwab. These are both epic tales of revenge between two male best friends. In The Social Network, it's based off of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and like how it came between him and his best friend in college, and it started like an all-out war tale of revenge, and that's why that movie is so epic to me, because of the revenge story. And in Vicious, we have a very similar story where it's two best friends in college and they discover that when you get close enough to death, you can become an extraordinary person with superhuman abilities, and it comes in between them and they become like friends to enemies, and then it's like this epic tale of revenge against each other. And both of these are definitely very, very similar, and I love both of them so much, and I think they're two of the most epic stories ever. I love them, and they are actually very similar. I didn't realize this until I was making this video. They're pretty similar. Next up is if you liked The Invitation, then I think you would also like The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina. The Invitation is a movie where there's a dinner, like friend get-together dinner, where they have all this weird shit that starts going on, and I think it's kind of similar to this book, and that this scene opens with like a friendly dinner scene where they're just having dinner with their neighbors, and then their baby goes missing and shit starts to happen and get weird while they're at this dinner, and they realize their neighbors and the people they're eating with aren't who they really say they are. And it's kind of similar like that to The Invitation, because The Invitation is this really, really creepy, amazing movie where like there's this creepy dinner party and they don't know exactly what's going on, and I think if you liked one, you'll probably like the other, and they're both really good thrillers. Next up is if you liked the movie The One I Love, then I think you would also like Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinburrough. This movie and this book both have very similar plot twists, I think, in the sense that they're just so epic and like unexpected. Ending will just leave you like shook. Really loved both of these. I just recently watched The One I Love for the first time this year, and I just fell in love with it. I think it's such an epic and like simplistic, amazing thriller, mind-blowing movie, and I think that this book is similar in that way. Like, it's also very mind-blowing in a simplistic way, and the ending is completely unexpected. I think they are both very similar in the fact that they focus on a couple. If you liked one, I think you would definitely like the other. Next up is if you liked Nightcrawler, then I think you would also like You by Carolyn Kepnes and vice versa, just because this book follows this stalker named Joe Goldberg, and Nightcrawler follows this guy who's in film. He films news stories, and his name is Lou Bloom, and I think that Lou Bloom and Joe Goldberg are very similar in their like creepiness and their dark comedy, because this book is definitely a dark comedy and Nightcrawler is definitely a dark comedy. Feel like you're not supposed to like them, but you can't help it. Funny, and they're creepy and they're weird, but you root for them. And so I think that those two characters are very similar in that way, and if you liked one, I'm sure you'll like the other too. Next up is if you liked the movie Moon from 2009, then I think you would also like 172 Hours on the Moon, mainly because these are both stories that take place on the moon that involve some like paranormal creepy shit that's going on. Just watched the movie Moon this year, and I think it is so fantastic. It's very creepy, and both stories, like the movie Moon has a story that involves an older guy who's like an astronaut, and he's going to like stay on the moon, and then like all this weird shit starts going on, and like no spoilers, but it's all like paranormal, creepy. We don't know what's going on until like the end of the movie. The book 172 Hours on the Moon is about these younger kids who get selected by NASA to go to the moon for 172 hours, and then all this paranormal freaky shit starts happening on the moon. So I think if you liked one, then you'll definitely enjoy the other one as well. The last one I have is if you liked the movie It Follows, then I think you would also like the book It by Stephen King. These stories both have this thing that like follows them everywhere they go, and like in this book it's like it's it, you know, it's like the clown, or it's something that's following these kids around. And in the movie It Follows, it's kind of like a metaphor for an STD. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, it's like they pass it through sex. Like, you curse somebody when you have sex with them, and then it passes on to them, and now this thing is gonna start following you. And it's just so creepy. It's like honestly one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen, and every time I think about it, I'm like glancing over my shoulder because I'm so creeped out just thinking about this movie. But like, I think if you liked one, you would definitely enjoy the other. They've both got that creepy, like something's watching you aspect. I love both of them so much. That was the if you like this movie, then you would like this book tag. I think this is super fun, and because I watch so many movies, I think that this is a really, really fun tag for me to do because I love finding similarities between books I love and movies I love. I'm just such a like a nerd in that way, I know. But yeah, if you guys can think of any other like similarities between like really good books and really good movies, I would love to know because I really like obviously love finding similarities and that kind of thing. If you're interested in knowing about more of my favorite movies and movies that I've seen, I am on Letterboxd, and so I will put my link in the description if you want to check out my profile on Letterboxd. And if you have a Letterboxd, then let me know and I will totally follow you. Just let me know the username below and I'll follow you back. Thank you guys so much for watching as always. I'm sorry if this angle is kind of weird. I don't know if I'll do it again, but I just wanted to like do it randomly because I was like, why not? Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.
Pull up to the party where my hoes at. 10 bad bitches on.
I will leave just